Hi. Welcome to the first topic of the World Economics course. Um, the original name of today's topic was actually the overlook to the world economy, but I decided to change it to the world economy during the pandemic, which is say basically we are doing the same thing, except of course we are living in very special circumstances. So while we are looking to the current world economic conditions, we are also able to see how the economic system, global economic system, reacts to the special crisis we are living in. And it's not even a classical type of economic crisis, but a special, but a crisis that was created from a totally different sphere. So in that sense, I decided to keep the name of this overview special. And in addition to that, I would like to tell you that the in the typical in-class lectures, basically, this course functions like this. I am introducing you to topic, which might be basically the data related to the topic or theories, and as I said, also the cases related to the topic. However, I decide to as much as possible, make the participants of the classroom speak. If they don't speak, I have some additional issues which I sometimes bring to the into the classroom. However, basically, I spend a little bit more time in describing the discussion. And basically also on describing the topics on which I make some comments, ask some questions to get interest of my students. But basically I try to keep the part where I speak as small as possible and make actually the participants speak more if possible. That's why since you are not able to speak now, but your that part, the part where you speak, is done in the discussions on the Canvas and also the discussion on not Canvas, OptiClass. Canvas was the system in my previous school. The lectures will be not 3 hours long, but rather around 1 hour or 90 minutes long. And their purpose will be introduce you to the topics, and I suggest you to look listen all of the topics basically. But then after you listen to topics, you can basically look in more detail to the topics that interest you more. So this topic is trying to introduce you several issues on the world economic system, but also aims you to choose particular ones which are more interesting for you and work a little bit more on those topics. Anyway, let's start. I have started with the global growth rate during the pandemic. If you look, this is the blue line, blue columns are the world growth rate. The red one is the advanced economies, and the yellow one or orange one is the emerging markets and developing economies, basically. Basically, starting with 2017, the growth rate of the world was slowly going down from 4% to 3%. But when we look to the pandemic. Of course, 2020 is still not over, so these are predictions. But predicted growth rate is around minus 5%. So the global production level is assumed to be decreased around 5%. The developing countries are assumed to have a contraction around 3%. Developed countries around 8 or 7.5% basically. It's a big reduction, by the way, especially for the advanced countries. It's a big reduction. But one interesting aspect of this estimation is actually after this initial reduction or recession that is experienced, in 2021, world is assumed to go back to the normal very fast. We might say this is actually an optimistic prediction. And we might, even when it is supported by the data, we might ask how much it is, how much we can, we should question basically, because our expectations might also affect our interpretation of the data. But the main idea is the pandemic itself, when we are thinking about its overall effects, first it has created those lockdowns. Those lockdowns has prevented some people to go work at all. Some people work, but work more inefficiently because safety measures that are taken. The labor cost has increased. And some people work at home, but that work itself might be not that much efficient. For example, typically you are taking this course, so I'm producing the course you are learning now, but you are not doing many other activities you could do at the university, Middlesex University campus, basically. So as a college student, basically, what you take from the university, what is producing the university, has greatly reduced. This is supply side effect. And another supply side effect is created because the world travel, the transportation between the world has decreased because people who come with the transportation devices need to be checked. So people, the trade and reliance on them, international trade in production has decreased. So many the companies rely on more domestic sources. But basically, if they were previously relying on the foreign sources, that means domestic. So domestic inputs are more expensive. So all of these make the production more expensive, or in some cases impossible for the companies. And on the other hand, people are staying at home, or people, even if there is no official lockdown, they spend less time outside of their houses. Also, traveling between the countries has been reduced. All of these things have decreased the demand in the economic system. But the idea is, if the people are supported sufficiently through the state, so if they don't starve, if they become, if they stay healthy as possible, both in terms of biological health and also mental health, and maintain their productivity. If companies don't go bankrupt, but somehow supported by the international and national financial system, even though production level has decreased, so income level has decreased. What you can buy is reduced, because what is produced is also reduced. This income decrease is an inevitable effect of decreased production level. Once pandemic is over, people might demand as much as they were demanding before. Their demand level might rise back to the old high level, and basically the international trade might be restored. I mean, companies might still continue to buy from the outside sources. In addition to that, also workers might, as previously, go to the work, and if the threat of pandemic is completely gone, then I mean they might also be able to work at a cheaper cost, because the safety precautions won't be that much necessary. So the economy might experience a growth rate again, although this growth rate is less than the expected growth rate in 2021, is less than expected decrease in the world production level in 2020. So in combined way, actually, in these 2 years, the world is still expected to shrink. I mean, not grow. Let's go down. So these are initial interesting variables that are kind of showing the decrease in production and decrease in demand. So, for example, retail and recreation mobility, I mean, the movement of the people has reduced around 30-40%. Air pollution has decreased, interestingly, around 20%. Flight cancellations inverted, I mean. So out of 100% of flights, 75% are cancelled, basically, or flight cancellations has increased by 75%. I mean, that's the real interpretation. And OpenTable reservations have reduced almost by 80%. OpenTable is a specific internet site from which you can make reservations, basically. It doesn't exist in Cyprus. I don't know whether it exists in Turkey. I have never used it also. I used it once, actually. It's a nice, if it works, it is a nice software. Anyway, what happened to the global prices? Well, the basic prices have fallen, all of them, except one, which is gold. Why has gold risen? Well, one interpretation might be because the other money units, I mean, global currencies like dollar, euro, Turkish lira, yuan, the trust to all of them might have been eroded. I mean, from Turkish perspective, dollar might be valuable, but I mean, in global perspective, I mean, people might not have trust to any currency. As a result, they might turn to gold, which is, I mean, usually they will believe it will protect its value because it's a tangible commodity or good. So that might be the reason why gold prices have increased. When we look to the other prices, the price of oil has fallen very significantly. That might have other factors in it. Actually, there might be the alternative sources of to oil might have been effective. Although oil, coal, and natural gas all have prices fallen, and that might be, well, all of them might be a result of fall in the global economic activity, because those three needed in production, basically in production facilities. Natural rubber, platinum, base metals, and silver, food, all of them. Although the smallest decrease is in the food prices, because, well, even though restaurants are closed, probably people are still eating food. Although, of course, global exports, imports might have been damaged, which means at many places where food is produced, I mean, the demand might not be enough to buy that food. And the more expensive food might not be exported or imported, so its price might have fallen. Although, of course, all of these claims should be tested and looked upon. So, but it's a chart where we might think about these questions. Anyway, see you in the next part. We are close to 15 minutes mark.